House number 13 stood alone at the end of Oak Street. It was a dark and imposing structure. Its windows, like empty eyes, stared out at the world. Locals whispered tales of the house. They said it was cursed. Some even spoke of a jinn, a powerful spirit trapped within its walls. No one dared to go near it. The house remained empty, a testament to fear itself. Over the years, many had tried to inhabit the house. Each family left quickly, driven out by unseen forces. The stories spread, growing more outlandish with each telling. The house became a symbol of dread, a place to avoid at all costs. Only the bravest, or perhaps the most foolish, would even consider entering.
Ali and Sarah were a young couple, new to town. They were looking for a home, a place to start their lives together. When they saw house number 13, they were excited. It was large and beautiful, despite its state of disrepair, and the price was unbelievably low. They dismissed the stories surrounding the house as mere superstition. They believed they had found a real bargain. With hope in their hearts, they signed the papers and moved in. At first, everything seemed normal. The house was quiet and they felt at peace. They started to renovate, excited to make the house their own. They laughed off the warnings from their neighbors. They were determined to turn the house into a loving home. They had no idea what awaited them.
On their first night, however, things began to change. As darkness fell, the house seemed to come alive. Strange noises echoed through the empty halls. Sarah saw shadows flicker at the edge of her vision. Whispers seemed to emanate from the walls.
Ali tried to comfort her. He said it was just their imaginations, playing tricks on them in the new place. But deep down, fear began to creep into his heart as well. The lights started to flicker. Then, they went out completely, plunging the house into darkness. Ali fumbled for his phone, using its light to navigate. He heard Sarah gasp. He turned to see a shadowy figure dart across the hallway and disappear into a room. They were no longer alone.
The next night, things escalated. As Ali and Sarah sat in the living room, a voice boomed through the house. It was deep and menacing, sending shivers down their spines.
Leave this place at once. This house is mine.
The jinn's voice seemed to vibrate in their very bones. There was no mistaking it. This was no ordinary haunting.
Ali, did you hear that? It can't be real.
We need to get out of here, Sarah. Now.
Terror gripped them. They couldn't believe what they were experiencing. The stories were true. The house was haunted by a jinn, and it was angry.
The door, it's locked. We can't get out.
Something is holding us here. We're trapped.
The following days turned into a nightmare. Each moment felt like an eternity, as if time itself had slowed down to prolong their suffering. The air grew thick with dread, and every shadow seemed to harbor a lurking menace. The jinn toyed with them, its power growing stronger with each passing hour. It seemed to feed off their fear, growing more malevolent and unpredictable. The once familiar surroundings of their home had become a twisted playground for the supernatural entity. Objects flew across the room with violent force, crashing into walls and shattering into pieces. It was as if an invisible hand was wreaking havoc, leaving them in a constant state of terror and confusion. Doors slammed shut on their own, trapping them in rooms and hallways. Whispers taunted them relentlessly, echoing through the darkened corridors, filling their minds with dread and despair.
Ali, we can't go on like this. The constant fear is breaking us down. Every attempt to find peace is met with more chaos. We're prisoners in our own home. The place that once offered us comfort and safety has become our prison, and there's no escape in sight.
We have to keep trying. We can't let this thing break us. There has to be a way out. A solution we haven't thought of yet. There has to be a way out. We need to stay strong and keep searching, no matter how hopeless it seems.
Fear gnawed at their sanity, eroding their will to fight. The constant barrage of supernatural events left them on edge, their nerves frayed and their minds teetering on the brink of collapse. They tried everything to escape. Every door, every window, every possible exit was tested, but all efforts were in vain. The house had become an impenetrable fortress. They tried to break down the door, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if an unseen force was holding it shut, mocking their desperation. They tried to call for help, but their phones had no signal. The outside world was completely cut off, leaving them isolated and alone in their torment. the jinn had them trapped. Its presence was a constant oppressive weight, suffocating any hope they had left.
Ali, I can't take it anymore. The fear, the uncertainty, it's too much. We're at our wits' end. What do we do? We're at our wits' end. What do we do? Every moment feels like an eternity, and the constant dread is unbearable.
Wait, I remember an old man, a scholar of ancient texts. He once spoke of entities like this, and how they could be banished. He lives on the outskirts of town, in a secluded house. It's a long shot, but maybe he can help us. Maybe he can help us. It's our only hope. We have to find him, no matter the cost. Our lives depend on it.
With the last bit of their strength, they managed to escape the house. Their faces were etched with fear and exhaustion, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. The night had been long and filled with terror, but they had finally broken free from the clutches of the malevolent force that had held them captive. They found the scholar and told him their story. Each word they spoke was laced with desperation, their voices trembling as they recounted the horrors they had faced. The scholar, a man of great wisdom and calm demeanor, listened intently, absorbing every detail of their harrowing experience. He listened patiently, nodding his head. His eyes, though aged, sparkled with understanding and a deep sense of empathy. He knew the gravity of the situation and the urgency of their plea for help.
I know of the jinn and the hold it has over house number 13. I will help you. His voice was steady and reassuring, a beacon of hope in their darkest hour. The group felt a glimmer of relief, knowing that they were not alone in this battle.
He gathered his holy books and followed them back to the house. Each step he took was filled with purpose, his resolve unwavering. The sacred texts he carried were ancient and powerful, filled with prayers and incantations that had been passed down through generations. The scholar was a beacon of hope in their time of despair. His presence alone seemed to bring a sense of calm to the group, a reassurance that they had a fighting chance against the dark forces that plagued them.
Thank you, sir. We don't know what we do without you. Their gratitude was palpable, their voices filled with a mix of relief and hope. They knew that the scholar was their last hope, the only one who could stand against the jinn.
Inside the house, the jinn raged. It swirled around them, a vortex of anger and shadows. The air was thick with malevolence, the very walls seeming to pulse with dark energy. The group huddled together, their fear palpable as they watched the scholar prepare for the confrontation. But the scholar stood firm. He began to recite verses, his voice filled with power. Each word he spoke seemed to cut through the darkness, a beacon of light in the midst of the swirling shadows. The group watched in awe as the scholar's prayers began. To take effect. The air crackled with energy. It was as if the very fabric of reality was being torn apart by the clash of light and dark. The scholar's voice grew louder, more commanding, as he continued to recite the ancient verses.
You cannot banish me! This is my domain! The jinn's voice was filled with rage and defiance, its form shifting and writhing in the darkness. But the scholar was undeterred, his resolve unshaken.
The jinn shrieked in fury but was powerless against the scholar's prayers. Its form began to dissipate, the shadows retreating as the light of the scholar's words filled the room. The group watched in awe and relief as the malevolent force was finally banished, their nightmare coming to an end. After hours of chanting, the house fell silent. The air was thick with the remnants of ancient incantations, and the walls seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The storm outside had subsided, leaving an eerie calm in its wake. The jinn, weakened and defeated, was drawn into the pages of the scholar's book. The glowing symbols on the cover dimmed as the book was closed, sealing the malevolent spirit within its ancient pages. The scholar, exhausted but triumphant, knew the battle was finally over. The house was finally free. Sunlight streamed through the windows, casting away the shadows that had long haunted its halls. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a sense of peace and renewal. Ali and Sarah were safe. They embraced, tears of relief streaming down their faces. The nightmare was over, and they could finally breathe easy, knowing the danger had passed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Their voices trembled with emotion as they expressed their gratitude to the scholar who had saved them. We owe you our lives. The words were heartfelt, a testament to the terror they had endured and the relief they now felt.
We can't thank you enough. The community gathered around, each person wanting to personally thank the scholar for his bravery and skill. We narrowly escaped a terrible fate. The fear that had gripped them was slowly being replaced by a sense of safety and hope.
House number 13 remained empty after that. Its once menacing presence now stood as a silent sentinel, a reminder of the horrors that had been vanquished. People still spoke of the jinn, but now the stories were a warning. Tales of the malevolent spirit were passed down, serving as a cautionary tale for future generations. No one dared to move in, afraid of awakening the spirit that might still linger within. The house, with its dark history, was left to the elements, slowly being reclaimed by nature. The house stood as a reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. Its overgrown garden and crumbling facade were a testament to the passage of time and the stories that should never be forgotten. The silence of House Num 13 was a haunted one, a testament to the terror that once resided within its walls. The creaky floors and flickering lights were a constant reminder of the jinn's presence. The jinn might be gone, but the fear remained. The house, now a relic of the past, continued to evoke a sense of dread and caution, a place where the brave dared not tread.